Hello, welcome to our book study of Thich Nhat Hanh's book, Living Buddha, Living Christ. We are picking up with chapter 7 today, page 87, titled For a Future to Be Possible. First part is called Rerouting. He wrote, "There is a deep malaise in society. We can send emails and faxes anywhere in the world. We have pagers and cell telephones, and yet in our families and neighborhoods, we do not speak to each other." Well, that's kind of true, isn't it? We get uh, occupied with our own um, plans and tasks and hobbies, and neighbors don't talk much anymore, I think, not like they used to. He goes on, "There's a kind of vacuum inside us, and we attempt to fill it by eating, reading, talking, smoking, drinking, watching TV, going to movies, and even overworking. We absorb so much violence and insecurity every day that we are like time bombs ready to explode. We need to find a cure for our illness." Well, I think some evidence that we're like time bombs ready to explode is road rage. People are driving along on a hair trigger, and it takes next to nothing to prompt an instant reaction of rage. Or people are walking around defensive, um, defensive because they're feeling under attack all the time. And so when someone speaks to them and they think, well, you're an attack as well. He continues, "Many of our young people are uprooted. They no longer believe in the traditions of their parents and grandparents, and they have not found anything else to replace them. Spiritual leaders need to address this very real issue, but most simply do not know what to do." I think that's true. I think every spiritual leader that I know of is aware of this situation, but knowing what to do about it is difficult. Being church today is not at all like it was when I first became a pastor. Things have changed. The world has changed, and like he says, young people are uprooted from the tradition, and we don't know how to get them back integrated again. It goes on, "They have not been able to transmit the deepest values of their traditions, perhaps because they themselves have not fully understood or experienced them." Well, there could be some truth there. I think some pastors are attracted to being a pastor because they want to study the Bible and they want to lead worship, which is fine. That's to be expected. But how much have they fully experienced the power of the resurrection in their lives? When a priest does not embody the living values of a tradition, he or she cannot transmit them to the next generation. So here I'm hoping he says more about this embodiment of the tradition. He can only wear the outer garments and pass along the superficial forms. When the living values are absent, rituals and dogmas kind of like a doctrine or teaching, are lifeless, rigid, and even oppressive. Combined with a lack of understanding of people's real needs and a general lack of tolerance, it is little wonder that the young feel alienated within these institutions. That's a powerful condemnation or observation. I don't think he's condemning anything. Total lack of understanding of people's real needs. That's the task, isn't it, of translating the gospel into people's real daily needs. Buddhism, like Christianity and other traditions, has to renew itself in order to respond to the needs of the people of our time. Many young people all over the world have abandoned their church because church leaders have not caught up with the changes in society. They cannot speak to the young people in the kind of language the young can understand. They cannot transmit the jewels they have received from their ancestral teachers to the young. That is why so many young people are left with nothing to believe in. They feel uneasy with their church, their society, their culture, and their family. They don't see anything worthwhile, beautiful, or true. I have to admit, just not too long ago, my wife and I went to Inside Passage of Alaska tour, and we made a point of visiting the First Nations, which is what I call Native Americans, because they were here first and they were a nation, many nations. And so we had the opportunity to witness many of the dances and parts of worship and gatherings that they have. And what I'm leading up to is they had so many young people involved. People 12 to 19 years old giving demonstrations of their culture's religion. And I thought, wow, could we do that today with Christianity? Could we pull together that many 12 to 19-year-olds to demonstrate our religion? Okay, let's skip ahead. We're going to skip ahead a few pages to page 94. First full paragraph. Instead of stealing, we practice generosity. In Buddhism, we say there are three kinds of gifts. One, the gift of material resources. Two, the gift of helping people rely on themselves. And three, the gift of non-fear. Fear is another big part of our society, I think. People are afraid of a lot of things, afraid of aging, afraid of illness, afraid of dementia, afraid of death, afraid of losing their job, afraid of losing their spouse. Just so much fear. But it takes time to practice generosity. Sometimes one pill or a little rice could save the life of a child, but we do not think we have the time to help. The best use of our time is being generous and really being present with others. People of our time tend to overwork, even when they are not in great need of money. We seem to take refuge in our work in order to avoid confronting our real sorrow and inner turmoil. We express our love and care for others by working hard, but if we do not have time for the people we love, if we cannot make ourselves available to them, how can we say that we love them? He's indicting us a lot. I'm hoping he provides some solutions along the way. We'll see. Let's skip ahead to 96, first full paragraph. The feeling of loneliness is universal. We believe in a naive way that having a sexual relationship will make us feel less lonely. But without communication on the level of the heart and spirit, a sexual relationship will only widen the gap and harm us both. We know that violating this precept causes severe problems, but still we do not practice it seriously. Couples engage in infidelity, and jealousy, anger, and despair are the result. When the children grow up, they repeat the same mistakes. Yet the violation of this precept continues to be encouraged in magazines, TV shows, films, books, and so on. We constantly encounter themes that arouse sexual desire, often coupled with themes of violence. Well, yeah, you don't have to go very far to see on a TV show, for example, that is half violence, half um, relationships. If our collective consciousness is filled with violent sexual seeds, why should we be surprised when there is a sexual abuse of children, rape, and other violent acts? Well, it's true. Our culture doesn't give too many um, models of people in a healthy, loving, lifelong, monogamous relationship. Maybe that's something we can do in church, provide those models for others and for children. Let's skip to page 100. Unmindful speech can kill. Aware of the suffering caused by unmindful speech and the inability to listen to others, I vow to cultivate loving speech and deep listening in order to bring joy and happiness to others and relieve others of their suffering. You know, we can do this often in our daily lives. I try to practice this when I encounter anyone briefly, particularly out in public with a cashier or a clerk or someone working for uh, a business that I've entered. I try to enter into a mindful relationship with that person, and universally, they always respond very well and seem to appreciate a mindful presence with them in the midst of their work. Knowing that words can create happiness or suffering, I vow to learn to speak truthfully with words that inspire self-confidence, joy, and hope. I am determined not to spread news that I do not know to be certain, and not to criticize or condemn things of which I am not sure. Oh my goodness, isn't there an awful lot of that going around in our society? Things that are not certain, things we can't be sure of. I'm thinking particularly of lies, distortion of the truth that is so present in our, particularly in our political culture today. A lot of lie telling and a lot of people believing it. I will refrain from uttering words that can cause division or discord, or that can cause the family or the community to break. I will make all efforts to reconcile and resolve all conflicts, however small. Okay, let's skip ahead to 103, first full paragraph. Training ourselves in the art of mindful breathing is crucial for knowing how to take care of our emotions. First, we recognize the presence of, for example, anger in us, and we allow it to be. We do not try to suppress it or express it. We just bring the energy of mindfulness to our anger and allow our mindfulness to take care of it the way a mother holds her baby when it begins to cry. We do this by practicing mindful breathing while sitting or while walking. Walking alone in a park or along a river, coordinating our steps with our breath is a very effective way to care for our anger, to calm it down. I love this approach to anger. Usually, we do try to suppress anger, deny anger, shove it to the side, or it until suddenly it comes out. It comes out violently, explosively, and usually upon some poor innocent victim. But to care for our anger, I love that. Uh, to care for our anger is to have compassion for ourselves, to examine what's going on inside. In his discourse on mindful breathing, the Buddha taught, breathing in, I recognize my feeling. Breathing out, I calm my feeling. If you practice this, not only will your feeling be calmed down, but the energy of mindfulness will also help you see into the nature and roots of your anger. Mindfulness helps you be concentrated and look deeply. This is true meditation. The insight will come after some time of practice. You will see the truth about yourself, the truth about the person who you thought to be the cause of your suffering. This insight will release you from your anger and transform the roots of anger in you. The transformation in you will also help transform the other person. Yeah, if we have the script, don't we, of anger and anger response. Uh, we know it well. Someone expresses anger, we get defensive, and so on, which doesn't help anything. Okay, let's keep going. We're going to skip several pages to page 111. Real love never ends. Bottom of the page, last paragraph. He quotes 1 Corinthians 13. Love bears all things, believes all things, endures all things. Love has no limits. Love never ends. Love is reborn and reborn and reborn. The love and care of the Christ is reborn in each of us, as is the love of the Buddha. If we invoke the name of Buddha or pray to Christ, but do not practice love and understanding ourselves, something is wrong. Exactly. If we can, if we pray to Christ in the midst of anger, um, it just doesn't match up. If we love someone, we have to be patient. We can only help a person transform his or her negative seeds if we are patient and kind. To take good care of yourself and to take good care of living beings and of the environment is the best way to love God. Taking good care of living beings and of the environment, taking good care of ourselves. This love is possible when there is the understanding that you are not separate from other beings or the environment. This understanding cannot be merely intellectual, it must be experiential. The insight gained by deep touching and deep looking in a daily life of prayer, contemplation, and meditation. How many of us allow ourselves time to do that in a day? We're so fixated on being productive and our lists, and we become enslaved to our shoulds, and that slavery allows no time for meditation. Page 113. Our happiness and the happiness of others depends on not only a few people becoming mindful and responsible. The whole nation has to be aware. Precepts and commandments must be respected and practiced by individuals and by the entire nation. When so many families are broken, the fabric of society is torn. We must look deeply at this in order to understand the nature of these precepts and commandments. Everyone must join in the work. For our world to have a future, we need basic behavioral guidelines. They are the best medicine available to protect us from the violence that is everywhere. Practicing precepts or commandments is not a matter of suppression or limiting our freedom. Precepts and commandments offer us a wonderful way to live, and we can practice them with joy. It is not a matter of forcing ourselves or others to obey rules. There's the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. The letter of the law says speed limit's 50 miles an hour. Spirit of the law is to not drive any faster than conditions permit that would make it unsafe. So if there's a snowstorm, the letter of the law says 50 miles an hour. The spirit of the law says slow down, maybe 30, 35 miles an hour. The spirit of the law is about love and liberty for all people. Sometimes the spirit of the law is harder, much harder to obey than the letter of the law. For example, the commandment against killing. Almost all of us can say, well, I haven't broken that commandment. But Jesus said, if you hate someone in your heart, you are breaking that commandment. That's the spirit of the law. If you hate someone in your heart, it's as though you wish they were gone. And that's like killing them spiritually. Okay. It's 22 minutes and 39 seconds. Let's see if we should continue. Sure, we can take a few more pages. We're into chapter 8, taking refuge. Page 116, first full paragraph. But pronouncing words does have an effect. When you say, I am determined to study medicine, that already has an impact on your life, even before you apply to medical school. You want to do it, and because of your willingness and desire, you will find a way to go to school. When you say, take refuge in the Dharma, the teaching, you are expressing confidence in the Dharma. You see the Dharma as something positive, and you want to orient yourself toward it. That is devotion. When you apply the Dharma in your daily life, that is transformational practice. Well, we can see the same thing. It doesn't have to be Dharma, but it's the teaching of Jesus, the life of Jesus. You could substitute that. He continues, mindfulness is the key. When you become aware of something, you begin to have enlightenment. Perfect. I love that sentence. That's a great definition of enlightenment, becoming aware of something you were not aware of before. When you drink a glass of water and are aware that you are drinking a glass of water deeply with your whole being, enlightenment is there in its initial form. To be enlightened is always to be enlightened about something. I think he's saying that once we are aware, we're always aware. That doesn't go away. It's a learning. I am enlightened about the fact that I am drinking a glass of water. I can obtain joy, peace, and happiness just because of that enlightenment. When you look at the blue sky and are aware of it, okay, I, I can see the blue sky through my window right here. Wasn't aware of it before. The sky becomes real. And that's true. Before, when I wasn't aware of it, the sky was not a part of my living, my existence, my experience. When you look at the blue sky and are aware of it, the sky becomes real and you become real. I have to admit, I'm not sure what he means by that. The sky becomes real and you become real. Maybe we become more present to reality. That is enlightenment, and enlightenment brings about true life and true happiness. The substance of a Buddha is mindfulness. Every time you practice conscious breathing, you are a living Buddha. To go back to yourself and dwell in mindfulness is the best practice in difficult moments. Mindfulness of breathing is your island, where you can be safe and happy, knowing that whatever happens, you are doing your best thing. So much of fear is future-based. Ever think about it that way? Just about all fear is fear of what might happen. Mindfulness doesn't worry about what might happen. Mindfulness is being in the moment. This is the way to take refuge in the Buddha, not as mere devotion, but as a transformational practice. You do not have to abandon this world. You do not have to go to heaven or wait for the future to have refuge. You can take refuge here and now. You only need to dwell deeply in the present moment. Well, Jesus said we have the kingdom of God now. It's among us. He inaugurated it. 27 minutes. This is a good place to stop. We'll stop and take up next week on page 118. I'm going to circle the page number. And thank you for your time. Hope you've enjoyed this session. We'll see you in a week.